Hi! Today I show you how to make a wide front fender the easy way. So today I will show you how to make your fender wider. In this case, like 2.5 centimeter or 1 inch if you are a non-metric guy. I used this piece of metal. I first made a pattern out of tape and then made this kind of metal template. You can buy these in my online store. I will make like a cutout version to sell if you want the easy way, or you can just buy this and I show you how to weld it in. But it's not just for this kind of car, so you can basically do this technique on every like 80s style cars with the easy design wheel arches, so just flat on the top side and boxy on the edge. So it will be the same way to do it on every 80s car, like in BMW E30 or E36 or old Lada. So you can basically transfer this technique to your own car, or you can do it if you want to be safe. You can buy this piece and it will make the work for you easier. If you have a little welding skill already, you will be able to do a similar work to your own project. So let's move on to the other side and I will show you step by step how to do it and to get to this point. So as you see, I already removed all the paint to have the bare metal surface. On the inside I removed the undercoating and I took a spray can and made a little bit of paint like on this edge where the corner of the two areas is. Now you just have to take a file . So as you see now, you have a clear line where to cut. And that's the first step we will do. We will do a cut, but we leave a little bit over the edge and cut like on the top surface. So we want this little radius to stay on the outer panel. So to make a good cut, you need to know the rotation direction of your cutting wheel. So it spins like this way. So what I always do is dive in a little and then it stabilizes itself, and then because it spins this way, it grabs the metal automatically, and you can move straight forward in a clean line, because the better your line is, the better your weld will be later. So let's try and start it. So the cleaner the cut is, the easier is it to do the metal work and weld itself later. As you can see now, the edge already drips out, and that's basically what we want to do. So in detail, and for the tutorial for the weld-in for this metal piece I sell on the online shop itself, you need to know we have to cut until this edge right here. And you have to cut until the point where the radius here ends. So when we pop it out, the line will flow out. So what's good to know as well is you need to still have this edge here, so like this folded piece of metal where the original corner of the wheel arch is. When you have already modded fenders where someone already pushed this corner around, you will have to take a plier and bend it back out, because we will need this structure to hold the metal in shape and make it strong and stiff. If you only have the flat surface out here, it will twist while you weld. I guess it's wobbly like it is now, but it would be more wobbly if you don't have this edge. The same is with this area here. We will leave it in place as long as we can. I will make you a quick sketch over there on the wall to basically tell you how or what we do today. Come on over. So I will take the red pencil to show the line of the existing fender, like in a cut. So the metal comes down like this. We made the cut right here and we pushed out, so it like basically flipped down a little and bent over. I do it extremely now, so it's like in an angle now. So if it would be over here, it would be like this. And basically what we're going to do now is take the metal template and weld it from here to like this point. So it will go over the old metals and we weld it in like this. We don't worry about this angle. Later when it's welded, we will take an anvil and a hammer and smash it out to do like this line. Also this area which we need to make it stay strong while we weld it, we're gonna smash it around like this. So it's gonna be a nice and thin edge later. But for the first, we just weld the metal from here to here. As you see, it will go in the curved area. So we basically, when you weld it, normally you would weld it like your weld goes 50% over the old surface and 50% over the new. But what we want to do today is we want to take the weld like almost next to the new metal and make it hot enough to melt in the metal too. And later we're going to cut the outer surface here and grind over it. So it will later be one piece, but we keep this. But now let's move on and do it in real. So what we did now, we lowered the car on the lift to make the outer edge touch the tire, so it stabilizes itself and gives us a nice line to start with. You can basically do the same with a car jack and push up the wheel if you don't have a lift. So the next thing what we're going to do is take the metal piece, make sure we have it the right way, so the big edge over here will later tuck in here. So now I show you the easy and simplest way to bend it. You basically need, it's better when you have gloves on. Over the years I tried several ways to bend this metal piece, and most of the time it took too much time and effort. So I do it the easy way. I basically want it to be curved like this. So I flip it around, sit myself, put it between my legs, take my hand, and you can smash it like this. Or in this case, you can basically put your hand like this, stretch it between your legs. So as you see, it bends now. And you do this step as long as it takes to make it perfect. So you will have it like nice and curved, so no wavy lines, so just a nice curve. The more time you take at this stage, the easier and the less Bondo and stuff will be needed later when it gets painted. So now what we want to check is, we want to have it in a fit like here on this edge. And then we need to twist it until it fits. So that's the part we do now. So you have to take it like this and bend it and squeeze it. It will take some time, but the good thing is it's metal, you can bend it back. So take your time and do one little step after the other. You won't even have to do it perfectly, so because we left like a little of this edge on the outer metal piece, and we still have this underneath, with like the radius on top, it will automatically put itself in the right direction if it's flat on this metal and flat on this side. So when you have your piece bent all the way to fit like 80%, that's good enough. The rest will automatically take shape while we tack weld it in. So let's get the welder. So what you want to do now is to make light spot welds. So basically, sometimes you weld it on and then later see, oh shit, it needs to be a little left or right. Then you can easily snap it off when you do a little weld. So what you want to do now is find your center. Take your time, find your center. So it needs to be in between this edge and the front edge. You can basically bend this a little bit over and a little bit far too wide out. We do it later, we push it later in. So like the point to weld it on top here is to leave a little bit of this edge from the body line, so like 3 millimeters below it. And that's why you do the first weld. So as you see, the weld is not 50-50 on both. It's not 50-50 on both panels. It's like more on the fender side. But later we will do bigger welds, so they will melt a little bit more in the new panel. And that's what does the transition later to let us grind it down to a smooth area, so we have one piece. You have to basically do all the weldings, so the weldings later, from the middle to the outside, and that's what we do now. We will point the line of the metal piece and then push it down to the metal underneath, so it lays flat on top. So we push all the energy, let's call it energy, of the metal outwards and tack it while we push it. So we push it down and squeeze it out and do like every 10 centimeter a little tack. And that's what we do to the point where it meets this corner. And then we do the same in the opposite direction. What we want to do now is to make basically the same on the outside. The deal is to have the outer structure underneath the new metal, and also to make it flat on top of each other. So no waves like here. It needs to be pushed down while we take it to later have a perfect edge line. Like I earlier said, it's normal to make a tack in the wrong direction or in the wrong point. So you basically just take a grinder So the deal here was, it needs to be a bit more inside, and that's what we do now. So it needs to be in this direction. Oh, as you see now, it pushes a wave here. It means this spot isn't in the right point too. So let's move on and cut this out as well. So you basically have to take your time and do some steps all over again to make it fit like on the perfect point. So now we took our time and tack welded the piece in as perfect as we could. So we made sure to have it nice on top of the underneath metal area, but we have tacked it with little welds. What we want to do now is to make solid welds. And the thing to weld it in without getting wobbly is to do the next tack always in between the other two and always start from the middle. So the thing is, we want to do like and tack here and tack here and then go out to the outside. So our energy goes all the way out in the loose area of the fender and can extend. And that's what we're going to do now while we weld on the inside and on the outside as well, like here and here and here. And when we tack this, we do the same all over again between the two last done welds, like here and here and here and here and here. And on the next layer, we do it here and here and here and here. And that helps us to weld the metal in without getting heat bends and wobbly areas. So that's what we're going to do now with a time lapse. So as you see now, the welds get nearer to each other by every layer I take. So now we have the welds like almost next to each other with a little gap. And that's what we need to make the piece solid and strong enough. So technically it would be good enough to weld it like this and leave it. But we want one service. So the thing is, now we would need very much power in our welds to make them weld and melt down to like one piece. So what we're going to do now is we take the grinder and smoothen this area off, but we only want to take the welds off, not the metal area. And then we can fill the gaps between the welds without as much heat as we would need if we fill it like now. So now you can see there's just a little gap between the welds, and that's what we're going to fill now. The thing I do now is I turn down the power of my welder and start with my weld and weld it all the way over the old layer from the middle out to the bottom. Normally you would weld your metal pieces next to each other, so like this. We have it on top. So we want to get enough heat to be able to cut out the underneath metal like I showed you in the sketch. And that's the only way we can weld with this much power on a panel like this. Don't do it on your panel when you weld it like next to each other. the amount of heat we put into would wobble all your metal in every direction and completely ruin your fender. But the only thing that allows us to do it is because we still have the metal underneath. So let's move on and weld. So as you see, I do solid welds. They almost melt through the metal and drop on the floor. But shortly before that point, that's where you have to stop. So the weld drops in the metal area. And that's the point you want your weld to be able to grind it down later to a smooth surface and smooth area. If you don't do the welds hot enough, you have the problem of getting a crack right after you grinded it. So keep your welds hot enough. So now the next step, grinder. We want to grind all the welds down to make it look like one piece. So the deal is, you have to have a cutting disc with a sharp edge, like. As you just saw, we did the first step with like a used grinding disc with like a rounder edge. And now for the final touch, we take a new one with a sharp edge, and that's just because of the reason we can now adjust where we grind. Now I will grind the rest of the welds, and then we move on to cut out the inner piece. Try your best, grind the rest. So now you see, it looks like one piece again. Almost like it came from the factory like this. For these tight corner spaces, I took my most favorite tool, the belt file. You can get cheap Chinese ones out of eBay, but for me I have a pricey tool which does the job a little better and you can adjust it better. So if you're a tool guy, go buy one. So now it looks done from the outside, but not from the inside. So let's take off the fender and then move on. Oh, and it is important to bolt down the fender at the whole welding and grinding and cutting process to make it stay stable and won't wobble and flex while welding. So now you see the inside. Let's put it on the hood and take a closer look. As you see here, the welds are nicely gone through the surface or gone through the metal, and the inners are too. So what we're going to do now, we want to cut on the inside of this line. Just leave a little distance between where the weld came through and where you cut. We grind it down later. So now you have to be very careful to not cut too deep. You don't want to hurt the piece of metal you just welded in. So it's better to cut a little bit less deep and then wobble the piece of metal off, I guess it's called. Okay, let's go. So as you see, I didn't cut through, so I can wobble it off. So now you see there's a little edge left. So now we are finished. The thing is, I left a little of the weld on the inside. It keeps the weld stronger, and if the undercoating is back in place and all the sealing, it will look like a stock fender. You could grind it down as perfect as on the outside, but it's not necessary, and it's a bit stronger like this. So the only thing that's left to do now is the outer edge. As I mentioned, we cutted it and we bended it out, so it basically flips a little inside. So what we're going to do now is we go to the anvil and bend around this corner to have a thin corner to keep the rubber from scratching, and then we're going to push like the upper area, like from here to here, a little out. That's what we're going to do now, so follow me. If you don't have an anvil, you can basically take a larger hammer and a second person and to hold it on the outside, and you can hammer on the inside. So now first I lay this down to the anvil and then smash from, like at the welding, from the inside out and from the inside out. Don't go all the way around in the first round, make more rounds to protect the fender from twisting. I won't close it all the way down completely, so I'm able to fill a little bit paint inside. Okay. Now I will lay it down on the edge and smash here, and then the corner comes out. So if you like the video, leave a comment. Tell me, do you like this stuff, and if I should do more videos and tutorials and do-it-yourself videos like this. I also could do it like on a BMW E30 or some kind of other car. Let me in the comments and tell me what you think. Bye.